Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Trinity on the Green. My name is Sarah Johnson. I'm the Associate Director of Music and organist here at Trinity. And I want to thank you all for braving some wild weather today to come out and join us. And also thank you to everyone who's joining us online today. We appreciate you being here. I also want to just say, again, thank you all for the support you've shown for our organ restoration project. As you know, our organ sister Soosie is 91 years old this year, and we are currently working on restoring the console. We do have a temporary console right now, which Anne Maria is handling beautifully. It has been quite the learning curve for all of us here. So if you know of anyone who might be interested in coming to the last two recitals on this series this summer, next week will be Nathan Beyruter from First Congregational in Madison, and the following week will be myself and Simon Lee with a program of music for organ and saxophone. So please talk to your friends about coming and supporting these concerts and supporting the restoration, whether that's by monetary means or just by presence and knowledge and spreading the word. If you have any questions about the restoration, or if you want to come up and see Robo Soosie, as we've been calling the new temporary console, feel free to come on up afterward. I'm happy to talk about any of that. A few housekeeping notes before we get started. Please do silence all of your electronics. And if you need a restroom, there is one in the back corner over there, or there are additional restrooms downstairs on either side if you go down these side stairwells. It is a pleasure to welcome tonight's performer, Anne Maria Lim. I first met Anne Maria when we started our degrees at Eastman, and she's been a good friend for several years now. I was very, very happy when she came to New Haven, and I'm very glad that she will be staying to do her doctorate at Yale as well. Tonight's program includes music from her upcoming competition, the NIACOP, National Organist Competition, which we wish her very well on. I've always been impressed by Anne Maria's musicality, her dedication, and hard work. She practices exceptionally long hours and does it all with amazing good humor. So I'm very much looking forward to this, and I would ask you to please join me in welcoming Anne Maria to the console. I believe I just said something about learning experience with this console. We're having mild technical difficulties. Please give us a minute.
Oh, hi. Well, Sarah fudges with that. I'll give my program notes first so we don't sit in silence. Thank you for coming. That was half of the piece of the first piece. It's still ciphering. Wow, okay, it might be a computer problem. At least it's not Windows updating, so that's a good thing. It might just be a stock note. So the first piece is by Rachel Laurent, and as you can see in the title, it says brave, or really maybe in brave, since Laurent herself is Canadian. I think she's Quebecois. And it's also subtitled bear-like, and that's because this is based on the Baylor University theme fight song, and their mascot is meant to be the American black bear. So that little portion of the pedal solo that you heard earlier was meant to be growly and bear-like.
Okay. Sometimes the problem when it's this humid is to just stick a piece of paper under the pipe. Thank you, Josh, for crawling up in there. We're just waiting a minute for Windows to reboot, and then we will be ready to go again. Thank you for your patience.
Okay, before I launch into it again, I will go from the pedal solo that we were at before I started ciphering instead of torturing you with the whole thing. So as I was saying, Baylor University, this piece was commissioned, or written for Isabel Demas, who's also a Canadian organist, and who was the professor at Baylor University at this point in time. She now teaches in McGill, but she's very famous, and you probably have heard of her before. The piece after that I will play is Brahms's Variations on a Theme by Joseph Haydn. So a second theme and variations piece, and you will slowly figure out as I go through my whole program that I kind of have a variation theme going on. So this theme, Variations on a Theme by Joseph Haydn, is also probably, you might have also heard it known as the Chorale by St. Anthony, and that's because Brahms discovered this chorale theme in a wind ensemble work, and that wind ensemble work was attributed to Joseph Haydn. However, in the 19th century, musicologists discovered that that might not be the case, and that chorale is really more accurately called theme, the chorale by St. Anthony. So this theme, Brahms took out of that wind ensemble piece and reworked it into basically first a 2-piano work, and then he reworked it again into an orchestral piece. This version that I'm playing that's arranged by Lionel Rogue, was based on the piano version of it. So it sounds a little different from the orchestral version if you ever listen to it online. It has a total of 8 variations, and the 8th variation is what he titles a finale, which is also a variation on its own. So it's a variation within a variation, otherwise known as a symphonic variation. And you'll hear the theme repeated again and again and done in different ways, but because it's a finale, he alters the rhythm a little bit, and it comes back in various different forms. Organ's still taking its time. Windows is still taking its time.
This is why we can't turn it off in the services anymore.
Okay, I'll keep talking at you. The theme, it's in B flat major. It's a theme that repeats twice. So the first part of it has a repeat in the middle, the second part of it has a repeat after. In some of the later variations that Brahms writes, he omits one or the other of the thematic repeats, although that's not very audible, unless you're paying really close attention to the theme itself. Yes. And then my other 2 pieces in the program are also variation pieces. The Bach, the Saint Anne Fugue, is in 3 different parts, very apt for this church because it's could be representative of the Holy Trinity. So the first section represents God. The second section represents the Son walking around, and so you hear this kind of walking figuration throughout. And the very final variation, which is very joyous, has a lot of leaping figures, is representative of the Holy Spirit. So Pentecostal in a way, but really for Trinity Sunday, which I missed the opportunity to play because I had scheduled it for a different Sunday. But if you were clever and had planned it in advance, you would play the Bach Saint Anne Fugue on Trinity Sunday. That in itself is also a variation because it's based on the Saint Anne hymn tune, which I'm sure you will recognize by now. Da, dum, ba, dum, bum, bum, bum. Oh God, how help in ages past. So you'll hear that pretty clearly right at the very start. And the final piece that I'll play today is Vidor's Symphony 5, Movement 1, Allegro Vivace. You will probably know the last movement most famously, the toccata. I argue that the first movement that I'm playing is a better Easter piece than the last movement, but you may tell me your opinions after I play it. And it's also sort of a theme and variations. The theme itself is pretty joyous. I think it's a little kind of like a klezmer theme, if you've heard that. So I like thinking there's little symbols at the back of the theme. He develops it, and similar to the Brahms in that very last finale, he turns it into a sort of very symphonic variation, and once again has this, variation within a variation form. So it ends very brilliantly, but he takes the theme, same thing, changes it slightly, ever so slightly, and kind of brings back the very opening theme that you hear, but in a different, parallel key to the very first opening theme. I think the computer is still having troubles. It's not coming up at all.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for your patience. We are now calling the organ technician, who hopefully will pick up, so it's going to be at least 10 minutes before we'll resume. Please stay with us if you would like to. Take a deep breath, enjoy some quiet time. We don't get enough of that in the modern world, and we'll let you know as soon as we have an update. Thank you.
Okay. We are at a bit of a loss with this system. We have contacted the organ technician who built it. If anyone would like to, Anne Maria has graciously offered to perform an abbreviated program over at Center Church. So if you would like to reconvene a few steps that direction, we will do so. I apologize for this. This has not happened before, and it's a bit of a new situation with this temporary console as well. So we are figuring things out at the same time as you are. Apologies to anyone watching online. We will not be able to live stream the rest of the performance from Center Church. But thank you for joining, and we will be back next week with a functional console for Nathan Bayreuther's concert. Thank you.